Imagine a moment in history so monumental it would change the world forever, a day when the fate of nations hung in the balance. Decided by the courage of ordinary men on a 50-mile stretch of beach, this is the story of D-Day, the largest amphibious invasion ever attempted, and the beginning of the end for Nazi Germany. It's June 6, 1944. Before the sun rises over the coast of Normandy, France, the air hums with an unprecedented sound the roar of thousands of aircraft and the churning of an immense naval armada. For years, the Allies had been planning this moment, codenamed Operation Overlord. The goal? To smash through Hitler's formidable Atlantic Wall, liberate France, and open a decisive second front in Western Europe. Since 1941, the Soviet Union had been locked in a brutal struggle on the Eastern Front, and the pressure was immense. A successful landing in France was crucial to relieve the Soviets and ultimately crush the Third Reich. The man in charge of this colossal undertaking was General Dwight D. Eisenhower, the Supreme Allied Commander. The planning was a masterpiece of military strategy and, just as importantly, deception. The Germans knew an invasion was coming, but where? The most logical target was the Pas de Calais, the shortest sea route from Britain to France. The Allies knew this, and they exploited it brilliantly. They launched Operation Fortitude, one of the most successful disinformation campaigns in history. They created a phantom army in southeastern England, complete with inflatable tanks, dummy aircraft, and fabricated radio chatter. This ghost army was supposedly commanded by the famous General George Patton, a man the Germans both feared and respected. The ruse was so effective that Hitler kept his most powerful panzer divisions waiting at Calais, even as the real invasion force was steaming towards Normandy. The choice of Normandy was a calculated risk. The beaches were wider, but the journey was longer and more exposed. The original date for the invasion was June 5th, but a fierce storm swept through the English Channel, with gale-force winds and rough seas. Postponing meant risking the element of surprise, but going ahead could mean disaster. In the early hours of June 5th, with the weather still treacherous, Eisenhower faced an agonizing decision. After a tense meeting with his meteorologist, he made his call. With resolve in his voice, he simply said, "Okay, let's go." The first to go in were the airborne divisions. Shortly after midnight, over 23,000 American and British paratroopers and glider troops descended from the dark skies behind enemy lines. Their mission was to sow chaos, secure vital bridges and crossroads, and prevent German reinforcements from reaching the beaches. The landings were scattered and chaotic. High winds and heavy anti-aircraft fired through many units far from their drop zones. Men were dropped into swamps, flooded fields, and even into the middle of German garrisons. Yet, despite the confusion, these brave soldiers regrouped into small bands and fought with incredible tenacity, disrupting German communications and creating a vital buffer for the main assault to come. At 6:30 a.m., as dawn broke, the main event began. Allied forces stormed 5 designated beaches along the Normandy coast. From west to east, they were codenamed Utah, Omaha, Gold, Juno, and Sword. Each beach told a different story of heroism and sacrifice. On Utah Beach, American forces landed with surprising success. Strong currents had actually pushed their landing craft to a less defended section of the beach. Casualties were relatively light, and the troops quickly pushed inland, linking up with the paratroopers of the 101st Airborne. But just a few miles east, Omaha Beach was a different world. It was a scene of pure horror. The beach was a death trap overlooked by steep bluffs bristling with German machine guns, mortars, and artillery. The preliminary naval bombardment had failed to take out these defenses. As the landing craft doors dropped, American soldiers were met with a storm of machine gun fire. Men were cut down in the water, on the sand, everywhere. The first wave was decimated. Equipment was lost, and units became hopelessly disorganized. For hours, the situation was desperate. It seemed the landing might fail. But through sheer grit and individual acts of incredible bravery, small groups of soldiers began to rally. They breached the seawall, scaled the heavily fortified bluffs, and slowly, painstakingly, silenced the German guns. By the end of the day, a fragile foothold had been won, but at a terrible cost, over 2,000 American casualties, making Omaha the bloodiest of all the beaches. Further east, the British and Canadian forces landed at Gold, Juno, and Sword Beaches. At Gold, British troops faced stiff resistance but broke through German defenses. At Juno, the Canadians battled through rough seas and heavily defended positions, suffering significant casualties in the first hour but pushing further inland than any other Allied unit on D-Day. And at Sword Beach, the British, aided by French commandos, fought their way off the beach under heavy fire, aiming to capture the city of Caen. By the end of that long, brutal day, over 156,000 Allied soldiers were ashore in Normandy. It was a staggering achievement, but the cost was immense. More than 4,400 Allied troops were killed, with thousands more wounded or missing. The German casualties were also severe, estimated between 4,000 and 9,000. The fight was far from over. The days that followed were a desperate race. The Allies had to consolidate their beachheads and pour in a constant stream of men and supplies, all while fending off furious German counterattacks. They performed an engineering miracle by building two massive artificial harbors, codenamed Mulberry, which were towed across the channel and assembled off the coast. These harbors became the lifelines of the invasion. By the end of June, the Allies had repelled major German panzer attacks and had linked all 5 beachheads into one solid front. In late July, they launched Operation Cobra, a massive offensive that finally broke through the German lines. The breakout was swift. On August 25, 1944, Allied forces, led by French troops, marched into Paris, liberating the city after long years of occupation. The road to victory was now open. The relentless Allied advance across France and into Germany squeezed the Nazi regime from both west and east. Less than a year after the D-Day landings, in May 1945, Germany surrendered. D-Day was the turning point of World War II in Europe. It was a testament to the power of Allied cooperation, with troops from the United States, Britain, Canada, and many other nations fighting as one. But above all, it was a testament to the incredible courage of the individual soldier, the young men who waded through fire-swept waters and climbed impossible bluffs, fighting for a world free from tyranny. Today, the serene beaches of Normandy are dotted with memorials and cemeteries. At the American Cemetery in Colville-sur-Mer, row upon row of white crosses overlook Omaha Beach, a silent tribute to the more than 9,000 soldiers buried there. These sites remind us of the immense price of freedom. The story of D-Day is more than just a military victory. It's a powerful reminder that in the face of overwhelming darkness, hope, unity, and an unwavering commitment to what is right can triumph. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as moving as we did, please like this video and subscribe for more chapters from history.